guys, here to talk about one of my all-time favorite new discoveries, Apichatpong, Weerasethakful. Very unique, one of a kind. He creates hypnotic worlds entirely of his own. There's still more filmography I need to see, but I've seen about 3 or 4 of his masterworks, and they've all struck in such a distinctive way that I feel like I just got to talk about it. So let's get right into his filmography. In 2004, he made Tropical Malady, and this is just such a weird and memorable experience the entire way through. Like, there's an editing process going on all throughout that just really creates a bizarre sense of time distortion. Like, there's a mood there, and it's entirely intentional, but it just feels like it's kind of inconsistent. Like, there's two kind of halves. But I think that, there's a few of his stuff. I think he had have a little bit more of a heartfelt outlook that kind of resonates a little more in the end with a few of his films to come. But this still just really sets a foundation that's so wonderful. Like, it captures this man kind of at wrestle with the environment and just himself in general. It's very engaging overall. It's like a very good plot. I think my issue with it might just be the music. Sometimes the music, some of these scenes just drag on almost a necessary amount of time. Like, I get, like, it kind of seemed like he was just trying to fill up time just so he could say he had a feature-length film a little bit. Like, it probably would have been almost better, smoother. It's like a little over an hour, but yeah. And again, it's like sometimes it's hard to even like kind of hear the voices. I know it's not a big deal to got subtitles, but I guess just nitpicking on that point. But it's a really weird film. I think at the end of the day, that's the chew out. Like, it's a very bizarre one. Like, the editing, it's abrupt, but it is kind of creating a bizarre atmosphere that does resonate in moments. There are a lot of moments here that just really hit home. And I feel like a film like Call Me By Your Name would kind of take on from a lot of this kind of porn. I think it hits me a little closer in that kind of way, like a straightforward romantic tale, as opposed to just this kind of like sort of just like a subtle madness that never fully unleashes it. So it's more like it's just contemplating the entire way through, which is very interesting. Again, it's the kind of just the sound design, really. I think that some of that is just, but the photography's perfect. I mean, some of the, like a lot of the nature landscapes, a lot of this is just really beautiful. And honestly, it could be a grower if I saw it again. I think, again, it could be the same thing if, like, a director like Linklater started with the film like Slacker, and that film just is a little cold. Things is very cold. It has a bit of a cold heartedness rooted within it. But then it's like you would just warm up in the films that come. And I feel like, like Weerasethakful kind of had a similar kind of thing going on with his films. And yeah, this is just one it's really interesting. Right? I'm gonna get to my favorite one. Excuse me. Just blew me away. In 2006, he made Syndromes in a Century. It's very difficult to even begin with just the beauty that lives inside of film like it's a typical brand of aesthetic from a film straight out of the decade of the 2000s that I'm recognizing just might be one of the most purely great I've ever. And I think I call that an atmosphere of distinctive warmth. And usually it's captured within some kind of friendship or a bond. I feel like Lost in Translation has this in spades as well. Much from Love as well. And a lot of this dialogue is very aimless, but it doesn't seem like it's always like really like adding up to anything, but it's really just kind of putting you in the moment of just kind of just life. And it's just raw essence. Like, it's really capturing just characters who experience all kinds of glory and pain alike. There's a lot of loneliness living here, as much as there is like a romantic outlook. Like, it's very dreamy. And I like how it just resonates with a lonely person and a married person alike. Like, there's just something here for both, I think, in equal spades. Like, he's an equal state of mind that's just beautiful here. It's just one of the best pieces of pure humanism I've ever seen. And yeah, like, this is one of those films I'll think about every day, because I think it's left like a permanent impact on me. I think his films are like that. Like, they leave an impact that you'd never really forget. This one particularly just really puts me at ease. It's very, very difficult to describe it. It's just like the way that it puts you in the moment with the character, simply. Like, it just puts you, like, again, through the heartbreak, through the pain, through the joy, just kind of through every moment of it. It really ponders you through it. Like, so many long takes that, he's very much into slow cinema. So it's like you kind of get these moments where it's like you may ponder, like, why are we sitting through all of this? But I think as time passes, it kind of starts to resonate as, okay, because I'm going to think about this every day, kind of thing. I think that's where the substance of it all is. And it's just every moment of it counts. It's just his way of doing it. And it really is a perfect way of making a movie. There's just so much here. I think he really perfected that sound design thing here. Like, that's all perfect here. The atmosphere and just the characters in general, just the way they get along. And there's just a nice harmony and friendliness within the characters at all moments. And the directing is just so good all throughout. I mean, it's just very colorful, very just told with a lot of grace and emotion the entire way through. Like, I mean, it never to me feels like an aimless film for a moment. You know, I think this kind of nails what something like Tree of Life does in a more grounded, earthy kind of way, which I think does it even better. But there's like a spiritual undertone kind of washing underneath of it all. But it's a timeless masterpiece. I think there's something so beautiful in here that it's a film that deserves to live for the ages. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Then we got 2010. Uncle Boonmee, who can recall his past lives. 2010. Yeah, it's funny because I watched this for the first time, and I didn't even really like it that much. I think I needed a lot of time to kind of just process what wonder really is in a grounded fashion. I think that's kind of always been where I've needed to kind of see in my personal spiritual journey. So yeah, for myself. And I think as time has passed, I realized more and more how this film kind of washed over me in a way that I actually rejected when I first saw it. And again, it comes from just having an intensely spiritual outlook where there's something very haunting living inside of it that you may or may not want to confess within yourself. There's always long takes in the forest, shadow figures that just never really seem very settling. It's always a little bit intense and very uncomfortable. There's just so many moments where mysticism is just kind of overriding everything to the point where that's kind of like always your takeaway from it. You're watching it and you're just so in the moment. It reminds me like a lot of the Koreana films we mentioned, and how the film's just put you in such a trance that you just don't even really think about anything else. You're just in the moment of the movie. And I think that is the timeless impact because you're just so in the moment of it that, hey, okay, I'm just thinking about this every day now. I mean, this really was a life-changing kind of film that you just really see, these kind of characters in harmony, and whatnot. And they're in harmony in a way that it's like a little bit more haunting, though. Unlike Syndromes in a Century, that was a very peaceful at home film. This was a little bit more of it's not a horror film, but there's a little more of closer to the tropical Malady atmosphere, you can say. And then in 2015, we got Cemetery of Splendor. And this is just hypnotic world building from start to finish. I consider this film just an entire world of its own. And it's just a fresh perspective on life in every way you could possibly imagine. I mean, the landscape is what really makes it stand out the most. I think that he's one of those directors, much like how I talk about with the film Call Me By Your Name. I think that what makes that film for me is literally the setting in a lot of ways. And I know that might sound like a lazy reason to love a movie, but I think in that case, it's really trying to display like a natural romance, which you could argue maybe isn't the most interesting, but I think the landscapes bring up the colorful, atmosphere of what, I think, how a man can fall in love in a certain area and like how his surroundings can kind of put him at ease even, I think that is important in a very subtle kind of way to capture. And this is one of those films that really does that as well. There's just detail at every single moment and layer of frame, and you can't really tell time with the landscape, but oh man, you just never know where it's going to take you next. I mean, this is one of those films that feels haunted by ghosts, but it really puts you at peace with that, peace within, a haunting mystique that lives within eternally. It's a beautiful film, and I think it's a masterpiece that lives for the ages, just like Syndromes in a Century. I mean, it's one of the best films ever made. And then we got 2021 Memoria. This is another one like Uncle Boonmee. I didn't even like it the first time, but because they're ahead of my time. So I had to kind of process it and sit on it because I'm still thinking about it. And that's what happens with a lot of these films. I think that I come out just really disliking it, but I realize, okay, that's because I need to look at something in myself and it opens up doors for me. It opens up new perspectives and new outlooks. And this is a film that's just very meditative. And I think what can make this film challenging sometimes is just how slow paced it is. I mean, he really is a slow director from the entire way through. I mean, this is on a level that's like Bellatar. I think I need to correct him a little deeper. I think he's a little tall. I gotta say, there's almost like a limit for me. Maybe those directors are challenging me, to the level of just droney kind of long takes, that just go on like films like Space Odyssey do with just all the time, kind of thing. Planet Earth, it's just they're challenging. I never really understand. Like I know there's a spiritual impact living there, but I just haven't really met exactly what it's expressing in that kind of sense. And as opposed to ways that other films have touched me in a lot of ways. But this is a film that really does just go with the basis of memory. And of course, as the title says, and Tilda Swinton is just amazing. I think this is one of her best performances, one of the best actresses all around. And yeah, this is just a pretty great film the entire way through. I highly recommend checking it out. His films in general. Like this is a real one of a kind.